Thanks a lot, Greg, and thank you for having me here today. Today I'm going to be talking about mandatory weeping tile disconnections to reduce the impact of basement flooding. So we're focusing mostly on the lot level perspective on this one. Just a brief outline of what the presentation will look at. Terminology and a little bit of background on what inflow and infiltration is, as well as some background on basement flooding. Dan and Michael have done a good job on some of the background on that, so I can go a little quicker over that. And then we'll get into the meat of the presentation, which will be a case study on the Sherwood subdivision, which has experienced multiple basement flooding events over the past number of years. So looking at why they are flooding, and then look at some private and public side solutions to mitigate that. Brief terminology, I just want to touch on weeping tiles themselves. These are the drains that run around the perimeter of the foundation of your house. Traditionally in London, in our problem areas, they're connected directly to the sanitary sewer system. Newer developments in newer areas, they're connected to a sump pit. Also, I'll be mentioning private drain connections, PDCs. That'll be the individual homeowner sanitary laterals running from the house to the sewer main line. So inflow and infiltration, what is it? Basically defined as stormwater and or groundwater, which is making its way into the sanitary sewers. So it's a big problem for municipalities because we have to convey and treat this flow. And when the storm event gets greater than what we can convey and treat, then we end up with combined sewer overflows and bypasses at plants and basement flooding for residents where we can't get that flow away. So where does I&I come from? It can come from cracks in pipes where groundwater is infiltrating in. Can come from, the inflow part is could come from combined sewers for catch basins or cross connections. This is primarily in our older areas of the city, say pre-World War II. And one of the benefits of that area, funny enough though, is that there are overflows which used to be more allowed or able to be done. And so there's not as much basement flooding in those areas because there's an outlet to the storm sewer. But in our newer areas, we don't have overflows from the sanitary to the storm sewer. Not too many downspout connections directly into the sanitary sewer, although we have a number of what I'll call indirect connections to the sanitary, and we'll see that in a little bit later. And of course, weeping tile connections to the sanitary sewer, one of our primary issues in some of our basement flooding prone areas. A little bit of background on London's weeping tile history. Prior to 1985, all weeping tiles connected directly to the sanitary sewer. Started getting more and more basement flooding issues, and finally in 1985, the bylaws changed and all new developments required that weeping tile be connected to a sump pit, and then the sump pump discharge would be directed overland. Worked okay, except for some areas of the city. We had some extreme icing issues in the winter time, where there was a lot of flow from either high groundwater areas or because of poor lot level grading and things of that nature. We were getting a lot of flow out on icing on roads and sidewalks. So in 1995, changed again and mandated that all sump pump discharges in new developments are directed directly to a storm sewer PDC. So it's all conveyed underground. Typical sump pump diagram, courtesy of ICLR. You'll see it in their basement flooding handbook. Just want to make special note there of that backfill zone there on the outside of the foundation wall. That can be a porous area, and water can, if it gets up against the house for, when we have, say, poor lot grading conditions or downspouts which aren't extended away, that water will make its way down into the weeping tile. And in this case, it's going into the sump pit, but you can imagine if it's going into the sanitary sewer, it's contributing quite a bit of flow. Basement flooding in the City of London, we'll go quickly over this. Isolated issues is localized to the individual property itself, and then we have our systemic issues leading to regional basement flooding issues, which is overwhelming the sanitary sewer. So the isolated issues, which we do see a lot of still, in more in our older areas of the city where we have old PDCs which have collapsed or become blocked with tree roots. The picture on the bottom is a picture of a PDC that is severely restricted. Weeping tile blockage, if that water can't get away from the house, it can infiltrate in through the foundation walls or through the basement floor. A big problem is log grading, which is settled over the years. So originally it would have been graded away from the house, is all nice, but over time that grading can settle, and actually sometimes, or many times in our basement flooding areas, actually slope towards the house. Downspout discharge locations. Again, we don't have any real downspouts directly connected into the sanitary system, but we do have a lot of downspouts which are not extended away. Again, we've gone over this a couple times. Michael and Dan have done a good job, so go on the next one here. End of the case study, Sherwood Forest subdivision. Subdivision developed in the late 70s to early 80s, so this is a separated system, no combined sewers, no catch basins connected into the sanitary system. But we've got a big basement flooding prone area, which has gotten worse over the years. Came into the spotlight again very recently in May of 2009, where they got hit very hard with a storm, over 80 millimeters of rain in a 5-hour period. Translates to about a 1 in 50 to 1 in 100 year return event. This is a diagram of the Sherwood Forest subdivision area. The area inside the purple box is about 2,000 homes. The orange areas you see there are the areas where we had reported basement flooding from residents. So you can see lots of little isolated pockets here. Luckily enough, we actually did have some flow monitors in that subdivision, in the sanitary sewers at that time. And just want to take a moment to show you the impact of the rainfall in the sanitary system. There's a green line on the bottom, which you can see there, which is actually represents the flow in that sewer the week during a dry weather week. So this is your dry weather flow from all of your sanitary uses, from your washing machine, toilet, sinks, anything that you used in the house. So that's our dry weather flow. That's what we intend to have in the sanitary sewers. The blue line across the top is rainfall during the following week, which corresponds with the red line, which is the sanitary flow. You can see as soon as we get some rainfall, we get a sharp response in flow in the sanitary sewer. This is not the storm sewer, this is the sanitary sewer. It's all I&I basically. So we go from less, say 2 to 5 liters per second in that sewer during the dry weather flows, all the way up to, you can see it during that May 28th event, peaking over 40 liters per second, severely surcharging that sanitary sewer and causing a lot of basement flooding. This is another flow monitor downstream, same idea. It was a problem throughout the entire subdivision, and is a problem in some of our other subdivisions where we have weeping tile connections as well. So what's happening here? Why are we getting so much I&I in these sanitary sewers? This subdivision happens to have clay soils, and as you know, clay does not absorb water. So, and combined with those clay soils is the problem of block grading. Not so bad if block grading is sloped away from the house, but when it's sloped toward the house, we've got water that falls down in the ground onto the clay soil and shoots directly over to the house, down and into the weeping tile, and out into the sanitary sewer. Also have what we call zero lot line homes, a lot of homes built really close together, not a lot of green space, a lot of hard surface area, driveways and roofs. So Again, no chance for that water to get absorbed into the ground. And poorly placed downspout dislocation, or downspout discharge locations. A couple pictures of downspouts in the subdivision. Again, if you recall that sump pump diagram with that backfill zone, you can see that where these downspouts are discharging is right within that zone, and it's just going directly down into the weeping tile. So while there's not a physical pipe between that downspout and the sanitary sewer, we see a response in the sewer as if it was. So you can see all of these are contributing. A couple aerial photographs of the subdivision. What do you see? You see roofs and you see hard surface area, not a lot of grass and green space. And so we're trying to manage that very quick response and trying to accommodate those flows. So what we did is that after that May 2009 event, we had a lot of public outcry. And so what we ended up doing, we engaged a consultant, we analyzed all the flow monitoring data that we did have, which was very good. And we built and calibrated a InfoWorks computer model to look at these flows and to see how we can mitigate basement flooding. Primarily looked at two different alternatives, and one was the public or city side alternative, which translates to pipe upsizing / storage, which is trying to accommodate the flows. And the other is trying to cap it off at the source and look at the homeowner property lot level alternative. We also, over this time period since 2009, have administered two different surveys to all residents in the area. One was administered by the City of London. One was administered by Institute for Catastrophic Loss Reduction. And you actually have the results of that ICLR survey in with your stuff that you got when you walked in here today. So there's some pretty interesting results in there about homeowner perceptions and the education level. And again, as Michael has said previously, education is key. So first we'll go over the public side alternative. From the residents' perspective, a lot of this is kind of what they're looking for. They don't deem it to be their problem. They deem it to be a city issue, and they say, when they call us up, they say, this is the alternative that they look to. So we looked at, from a computer modeling perspective, a solution that would protect basements up to a 25-year return storm. Estimated cost of this solution was $10 million. And of course, one of the risks, again, is this, you can only design to a certain size event, and then the next bigger event comes along and overwhelms your system and causes basement flooding again. Make the point here that this option only accommodates the I&I. It doesn't actually remove it. A little tough to see here, I guess, but the blue lines are where pipe upsizing was deemed to be required to accommodate these flows. You see 2.3 kilometers of pipe upsizing and another 1,400 cubic meters of inline storage in a 2,200 diameter underground pipe there. So that translates to $10 million of capital works. On the other side, we have the homeowner side lot level solution. So this looked at disconnecting weeping tile from the sanitary laterals so that I&I didn't have a chance to make its way into the sanitary sewer. Through our modeling work, we identified 160 homes that would be required to have to disconnect to remove the adequate level of I&I to bring that flow down. And this protects basements up to and beyond the 25-year design event. We have a little bit more freedom here because we're removing the I&I, we're not just simply trying to accommodate it. Cost of this solution, 100% funded by the city, it would be $2 million. And this includes weeping tile disconnection, sump pumps, and it also includes backwater valves. So these residents, we're taking 160 homes off and taking that I&I out so that the sewer doesn't surcharge. But if we do have too much flow, all of those homes have, in those low-lying areas which are most at risk, will have a backwater valve. So that will give them an added level of protection that they wouldn't otherwise have. a couple of diagrams to show you what just the impact of removing that I&I. On the top graph, you have the kind of the current state just for a particular street which got a lot of flooding. The green line up on the top is the estimated basement elevation of those homes, and the blue line underneath is the hydraulic grade line, or the flow and surcharging in that sewer during a 25-year return event. You can see that blue line goes up over top of the green basement elevation line, and those are the areas where you're going to see basement flooding. 50 to 70% of, if we disconnect those homes, and we did have to go quite high on the percentage, disconnecting only 20% of the homes or 30% of the homes didn't do it. So with 70% of the homes disconnected, you can see that hydraulic grade line is now well below the basement level elevation, and so you could even experience a higher return storm event without flooding basements. And again, those basements in the low-level areas will have backwater valves. So, advantages of this: we're removing the I&I at the source, so we're saving all of those conveyance and treatment costs, but we're also reducing our risk, and with that, trying to accommodate the next big storm and trying to figure out what size do we do. And also, it's the most cost-effective solution by far. In this specific case study, we're looking at 20% of the cost of a comparative city infrastructure improvement solution. So, how are we going to go about doing this? And it's interesting though that currently we do have a 75% grant program that is open to all homeowners in basement flooding prone areas to allow them to disconnect their weeping tile from the sanitary sewer, and the benefit to the homeowner is they get to add a backwater valve, which they can't do if their weeping tile is connected to the sanitary sewer. We found, just like I think a lot of other municipalities have found, very low uptake. Homeowners really don't have a lot of interest in taking us up on our offer. And even in the shared forest area, the people with the wet basements, many of them aren't interested. They view it as maybe a once-in-a-lifetime event or something that's not their issue, and they put a new basement in and go on with life, and then get upset with us again when it floods during the next big storm. And on top of that, the dry basement homeowners really have no interest in doing it because they're not getting affected, but of course they're contributing just as much of I&I to the sanitary sewers as the other ones. They're just on higher ground. So this is why we're trying to go to a mandatory solution, and it's the only way we see getting that kind of buy-in that we need, and to try and make the burden as minimal as possible on homeowners. We're going to bump that up to 100% funding by the city in our specific problem areas, and go from there. So again, the biggest obstacle is the public perception. We had a subdivision-wide public meeting to try and educate homeowners, and what we heard back from them was, the city originally approved this subdivision, therefore it's our problem to fix. A lot of residents saying, well, you've just got the sewers that are the sanitary sewers are too small, and it's more of a problem of, well, we've got storm water flow in those sanitary sewers, and they're not designed to be a combined sewer. Another one is, visually to the homeowners, there are new development areas nearby, and they feel that all the flow from those nearby developments are causing our flooding, when in reality, in the underground network, they're not even connected to the same system. But it's a public perception thing. It's a really big hurdle to try and get over. A lot of homeowner reluctance to retrofit and burden themselves with a sump pump, on top of the nuisance of doing it, and electricity and maintenance costs. In reality, it's very low. And if you have a home in London that's built after 1985, you already have a sump pump. So this is nothing new as far as a municipal responsibility for a homeowner. So right now, we're in the process of preparing a council report to try and get council buy-in to go forward with mandatory weeping tile disconnections. And it is a big step. It's something that we've heard back from the political and public side that we need to fix this problem. At the same time, you know, everybody is cost conscious too, and so they're looking for the most cost-effective solution. And we think with mandatory weeping tile connections, we have a very cost-effective solution that's much lower risk than trying to just go in and upsize those pipes in the ground. Again, through this, we don't want to try and solve one problem and create another, so we are proposing to put some pump discharge into the storm PDCs and into the storm sewer system. In some areas, because of the poor lock grading and such, we do anticipate that there could be a lot of flows. I do know we're also, we have a pilot project going on in that subdivision to extend downspouts away from the house, and this is something that we funded 100%. We went out and we did an inventory. We went on just a couple streets to begin with, and we determined where downspouts needed to be extended, contacted the homeowners, said we're going to install these for free, and we actually got a pretty good response or acceptance to that, and so I think that's a big step in the right direction. And that's my presentation. Thank you.